Okay, hello and welcome back to the channel. Playing more Control, Count Your Blessing, Uzuri. I think adding that extra, adjective in there, it's a control deck. I think that's nice because it really does give you a sense that we're doing something different in the game. It's not, it's not like fatigue, right? We're trying to control the game state. We're trying to have a game plan that goes late. So I have a Kayo here, and I bring, you can see 65 cards. And the reason is they have so much density of damage in the deck that I think the CYBs sometimes don't even get you there in terms of decking them out. It's pretty hard to straight up race them. So the life gain is important, I find. And yeah, so the extra cards just let you have the defensive choices to just block them a little bit more frequently. So we'll see if 65 is the right number for this game. Get to start out with probably an ideal draw, I would say. Like, get to cast some healing and put a D-React in Arsenal to stop potential pulping plays that they have. So pretty happy about that. Run into a sin packing. Perfect. But it's okay, because the deck blocks exceptionally well. We'll see if they have a wind-up to come after this. I think either way, I have an interesting choice here. I can block with the Justinic, or I can block with both Double Troubles. I think I'm going to block with the Justinic and the yellow here. And the idea is going to be, let's present the Double Trouble and see what they do. And I'm hoping, yeah, perfect. Just a 3-block. And we get to swap and hit their arsenal. Very nice. It's kind of weird to only block 3 against Uzuri, but yeah, maybe they're just feeling me out, trying to see if I could have been bluffing with that. I did block with a Justinic, so I think it's more likely I don't have a blue stealth as the last card in my hand, because otherwise I would have played it with the Justinic, but here we are. Seems like maybe their hand just, like, if this is another powerful card, then maybe the arsenal getting blown up isn't the worst thing for them. Pack Hunt intimidates a Double Trouble. This is kind of interesting, having the shreds here. So basically against any flavor of brute, well, not always Levia, they sometimes play the other headpiece, but the Scowling Fleshbag makes your plays very interesting. They get to do it once per game. So it, like at some point you play into it. But I'm kind of interested in using a Mask of Perdition here with this Double Trouble. So like, what if I bait the flesh bag and then I just have I have reacts anyway, right? So I'm curious to see how this works out in my favor. And potentially losing the 3-block value on the shred if they decide to just no blocks is something I'm okay with in this spot. Like, their turns early on have been weak enough that I think I want to take potentially a value negative play. Okay, but they just kind of do exactly what I wanted them to, so I am very happy. This time they adjusted their block from the first time. They went for 6, but I had 9. And I'm just going to choose red. I think that makes most sense. Yep, get a Bear Fangs. Very good. This time I think their block made plenty of sense. Still don't know what the arsenal was that they chose to keep on the turn that well, now we do. Okay, so they kept a Pack Hunt instead of blocking 6 on the stealth. I think that was a strange line from them, but it's what it here I think I'm just going to Fate Foreseen and then cast my E-Strike and a Sigil and arsenal the Sink Below again. There's, like, I do have some options. In fact, like I could choose to Sink Below instead of Fate Foreseen. But you know, I could also choose to block with the Double Trouble and a D-React, and then E-Strike, bottoming a D-React, Arsenal Sigil. Arsenaling Sigil is one of my favorite things to do in Uzuri. But here we are. Okay, I'm pretty happy with Shakedown, either on top or on bottom. I think I'm gonna keep it on top. And the reason is my opponent so far has not shown a capability to profitably block my attacks, so I will continue to ask him questions. All right, and I'll keep the Sink Below in Arsenal. When the opponent doesn't have a Might token, as they've failed to generate on like 3 turns in a row now, arsenaling the D-Reacts are safer. You have less opportunity for them to CNC you for 7. Wow, and they're just drawing complete bricks, so I'm pretty happy I kept the Shakedown on top. All right. Did not draw a hand that works well with Shakedown. And they don't attack me, so I can't Sink Below out of it. Let's see if I have a good Codex target for a following turn. There is Leave No. And, you know, Shakedown's not the worst target as well for Codex. With 2 blues and Tunic, it works okay. Tunic for the Vambrace, that is. So, you know, I think what I'd like to do is use my Scale Peeler. And I'll pitch the Codex for it. And I think, so the reason I want to do this is basically because of the way their armor defends. So now all of their armor pieces, if they chose to block with them, block 1. So that they're either giving me 3 armors and stuff is dying because of temper, or it's 2 cards. So that's the reason for that. If you Spider's Bite, then they can give 2 armor and a card. So the math changes a little bit when the armor is already gotten counters on them. But for now, Scale Peeler, very good into Kayo. I'm just gonna respond to my fiance here. She's on the way home. I like to send these little penguin stickers back. Okay. All right, so they passed blocks. I'll just Tunic Vambrace. This is, I didn't mention it, but this version of the deck doesn't have any Flick Knives in it. Ooh, okay. Let me just think about this choice and then I'll get back to the Flick Knives discussion. So I want to leave them with the Pulping because I have a D-React in my arsenal. It is a Sink Below. So I'm going to take the Bear Fangs because Bear Fangs gives them an above rate choice that's not pulping, whereas Runner Runner is just there. Okay, anyway. There's no Flick Knives in the list, and the reason is, even though it's good in matchups like this, like Kayo, wow, they discarded the Blood Rush, everything's going wrong for them. I don't even have to use my Sink Below. And I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm just gonna block with 2 cards. Probably we're gonna get their Fleshbag on this turn. That's my guess. Okay, so the reason, and they have a Runner Runner in hand. The reason we don't have the Flicks anymore is sideboard space. There's basically 2 matchups I think Flick is better. The first one is definitely Kayo. Like, if they're on No Fear, Flick Knives is insane. It's especially in New, because New doesn't have the swap logic happening. Basically, New's only threat is Bonds of Agony. So the No Fear is very good against Bonds of Agony. It's kind of a curious block. Maybe they're thinking that I can do it all with equipment, but I can't. So maybe just some. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that they have some inexperience in the assassin matchup. So yeah, especially Uzuri. Sorry, especially New having the flick knives against Kayo is important. Uzuri, it doesn't matter as much because you can just get them with the CNC after they No Fear. The value obviously is still very good, but okay. So Kayo, you don't need the flick, so that's one reason it's not there. Let me choose a block, and I'll get back to that discussion. So my Justin Nick is rotting in hand. I think likely this turn I'm going to be looking to block out and cast the Codex. So I'm just going to play the Sink Below now. And the reason is, if any of their follow-up attacks are CNC or Send Packing, I don't want this here. And I can get the full 4 value on the Wild Ride, so pretty much no downside to doing that. I'm going to bottom the Justin Nick. Draw into actually a pretty flexible card for the hand. I'm still just looking to block, but if they somehow had no other attacks, then the Leave No Witness was definitely a better card than the just the Nick. Having a Nick on the bottom is also of extreme interest to me. I could find, hey, look, CNC. It's exactly what I was playing around. Having a Nick on the bottom is really nice if I can find a blue stealth that I want to swap in the next couple turn cycles. Like if the first card that goes to the bottom is a blue stealth after this, I'm pretty happy. So we're just doing, I think, fundamental Uzuri play against Kayo. Normally I would say the life totals don't look like this. Normally you're pretty behind, but I think our opponent's draw was very slow. Like they didn't see any agile windups. In fact, no like Bear Fangs either to get the might engine rolling with the hero power. And if they had pulpings, I would have had D-reacts for them anyway. So I think they just they got a bit of a low roll on the draw, and I didn't. I've just been doing fundamental assassin things. Alrighty, so we got pretty much a perfect curve coming up. They're gonna Mandible Claw me. I guess I'm interested in using Fate Foreseen on this. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a Fate Foreseen. Could also sink the Fate, but no. I'm gonna stick to this. This plan of getting a blue stealth next to the Justin Nick. And Bonds of Attraction is it's a decent enough one to have down there. The game goes to that point, it'll represent 3 cards out of the deck. Well, 2 cards, but maybe I have Mask of Perdition. Isolate is also very interesting. If I put Isolate next to the Justin Nick, then we're winning on life total. But, they don't have D-React, so the Dominate doesn't matter as much. So I'll keep it on top in case I draw it next to a relevant threat. And the plan here is I have the 2 silver, and this was from that early Leave No Witness that got swapped in. So I'm going to double trouble, holding a bunch of cards, and this is kind of the first instance of this game anyway, I think. Well, there was maybe one where the Shakedown Shred happened, where I have extra cards and the opponent is just kind of forked. So I get to do my Vambrace and my Mask of Perdition as the 2 reacts. I'll be able to buy back the mask. And then I have 2 floating for the Count Your Blessing, which I'm just going to play out. No need to slow roll that. So we get to banish 3 cards from deck, 5 hit points of damage, and go up to 42 life in the same turn. So this game is looking very, very favored at this stage. Yep, they draw a discard. I'm going to use the D-React again. try to fix the hand a little. Now, if I can find a threat to go with this isolate shred, I'm yeah. All right, it's one of those games, huh? This is the sort of thing, like, people don't realize it, but Uzuri can high roll a bit. Like, this type of draw is really hard for an aggro deck to interact with. Especially one that's not on D-Reacts. They're just, I mean, they just don't have much of a recourse here. Like the isolate is just gonna get them, right? Even if they shove all their armor, I have a shred for it. Yeah, it's just bad news. In fact, I think probably I should have put the sink below on their chain ender. Because if they do no blocks, then it's just I get IP'd. But I'm far enough ahead that I don't think it actually matters. And in fact, having the shred for maybe just killing them on a future turn cycle could be better than having blocked. So I look at their hand and I don't see a CNC or a send packing, which means I'm going to throw this sink below an arsenal. Wild Ride, as expected. Discard Agile Windup. So their last card is unknown to me. I think, just gonna continue with putting sink below on these early attacks. Like, really, there's no on hit aside from CNC, and CNC doesn't like you can't interact with the CNC with the sink below. So question is, what am I sinking and what am I hoping to get? I think this turn could reasonably just be like a Count Your Blessing Vambrace play. So I'm going to keep my blues, bottom the shred. I think that gives me the most outs to draw something good. But this hand probably is just blocking everything they do now. We'll see. Okay, a claw. Yeah, I'll put an infect in front of the claw. This is kind of the first hand I've drawn that is like, wait a minute. I'm the control deck, not the aggro deck. What's happening here? Oh, there it goes. And I'm totally fine with this exchange. They're losing cards out of deck with the draw discards. I get to arsenal an instant, which is excellent. Maybe they have an agile windup and are waiting on this. If not, I will refresh the page. Okay, arsenal. All right, we drew a Bonds of Agony hand. So this is really cool. I'll have several cards in hand and the ability to use my count with a Vambrace activation on a blue. Alternatively, I have enough reactions just in my hand and without the Vambrace that I really don't even have to do that. Here we have the classic Blood Rush draw into Blood Rush, which is usually not something Kayos want to have happen. But if he has no other threats, then here we are. Now, given this is like why Flesh and Blood is such a good game. Given that they are having a powerful turn, I think I'm just gonna block. My goal in the game is to not die by damage. So, their deck is dwindling. And I think I'm fine just blocking, even though this hand turns on Bonds of Agony. Like, if the Razor's Edge is Justinic, different story. I think that's high enough value that I just go ahead and play out the turn I was angling toward. But at this point, I think I'm just going to protect the life. Yeah, and look at their follow-up. This is nowhere near what a double Blood Rush play should be like. And now I think I can just... I have almost no threat to kill me at this point. All the blood rushes are gone. I'm just going to go ahead and control the game from here, I think. I'm fine taking this wild ride because my play is going to be a blue pitching, or a blue and tunic to count my blessings twice. And we'll just kind of see what their follow-up is if I want to block the end of the chain here. And if not, I have a respectable play, which is Persuasive Holding. Razor's Edge. But it seems like, based on their pitch and so forth, that they do have a chain ender. Ascend Packing. Perfect. Count my blessings. Twice. And now I'll just block. This is respectable. Once again, if it's just a nick, I'm sending it. But I think no reason to take a below rate play when I can just convert the value on life total, and that's what I'll do. And so here you can see, like, I'm cards ahead in deck, especially because I added the extra ones, and it hasn't mattered too much like what exactly the cards were that I drew. Yes, I had excellent offensive. I actually don't need to block this. No, maybe I do, because maybe I put 6 and then just cast Codex, leave no witnesses. I have had excellent offensive draws, and like, by the end of the game here, I think my opponent has come into it. He's done the pitch 2 blues, attack with like a bunch of stuff. Attack with a 2-cost claw, 2 costs. I guess this one didn't work out for them. So the question I have is, what do I do if my opponent just shoves his armor at this infect? I think I'm a little upset if that happens. So what I want to do instead is go for the Scale Peeler Codex play. Because again, like, I'm really not at threat of dying here. I still have plenty of healing left in the deck. So I'm just going to take, the more guaranteed disruptive line. If their armor was at, only 2 total defense value, then probably I do swap the Justinic. Swap the weakest link in. But now they pretty much have to give me cards. They chose Pulping. It's kind of interesting. I wonder if they maybe could have chosen just the Beast Within and like come back at me. Mandible Claw 3 go again into nothing, because that's a Pulping. So this is interesting. I have Tunic coming, which means I could dagger twice. I think that's good enough. Dagger twice into Leave No Witness on the swap. The swap being the important part of that. Like, just trying to give them pause on how to defend. If I send the face-up surgical, I think that's not as good. But it's close. It's pretty interesting what to do here. I mean, I think what I should have been doing the past couple turn cycles is maybe try to get blocks on my reaction gear. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense that they're doing that. Let's see what happens when I attack with the Spider's Bite. I mean, this is exactly what they should be doing, I think, is try to protect their pulping and go for one last good play here before they're out of cards. Which means they're going to take this and then Apex plus a card, and then hope that I don't have a 6 power and it's only 4. So we'll see what they decide. I think that's a reasonable line to victory for them, or at least a line to protect their stuff, is block 4 on this. Yeah, so well done, opponent. I think I'm just gonna swap anyway. I want to give them some dopamine for playing a good line, and because I don't think it'll matter what's left in my hand or deck. Pulping comes in, 6 dominate. All right. Take 6. No way to turn off the go again. Claw. All right. I'm gonna consider blocking because they only have one float. On my turn, I want to probably cast the surgical so I could. I mean, it doesn't. Interesting. You know, if the roles are reversed and this is a stealth and arsenal, I think the choice is a bit easier because just playing the face up surgical is kind of anemic. It makes me want to attack with skill peeler. So like peeler surgical, count your blessing. Yeah, I think that's good enough. So we'll go for it. This is another way to weave in the count your blessing into the cost curve, I suppose. And the peeler on hit is very relevant. Like it makes all his armor block 0, so it's 2 cards out of hand. So I'm not too upset about it. I mean, at this point, I think if the only thing I did was block, he would just run out of cards. So, or at least, he'd be down to swinging claw as kind of his only game actions. But let me point out, this is why it's important to attack the life total as well as the deck. We've been doing both this game, which is correct, and the reason is like if it comes down to he's only swinging the claw, then what I'm doing is swinging daggers or presenting my threats, and if my threats are only coming in for like 4, then it's taking forever to kill him. Try to picture a full fatigue strategy. I think pretty clear enlightened strike here. I don't think the silver matters at this point. Just take away his turn extender. So yeah, if he has 30 life instead of 8, then it takes me forever to kill him, even if he's at just like enough cards to swing Mandible Claw, and that's it. So pretty important to attack both, and that's how the deck is set up. All right, thanks for joining. See you in the next one.